B1 family, welcome to Blacklogic. This is giving you time to get inside the room. I wanted to break down one major component of Donald Trump's mass deportation. And the reason why we're going to get into this is because after viewing his Agenda 47, I really haven't seen anything of significance from his mass deportation verbal policy versus what he's put on the Trump platform. And the reason why I think that's important, family, is because everything that he was supposed to do is going to be part of Trump's Agenda 47, those things he was going to do on day one. But I don't know if you guys have reviewed it extensively as I have, so to speak. I reviewed it somewhat extensively. I was trying to get some light in here. But nonetheless, we're going to jump inside of here. I didn't want that light to shine you guys out. But I want you guys to hear what he essentially plans on doing before I get into it, okay? So give me 1 second here. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I want you guys to hear what he has to say here.
Largest deportation program in American history.
Nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants are on the radar of President-elect Donald Trump. What are some of the concerns you've been hearing?
Knowing whether or not they'll be able to stay here, knowing whether or not their friends, their families, their spouse, their uncles, their grandkids are going to be deported.
A move that Ernesto Ruiz with the Farm Workers Association of Florida says could be a huge blow to the state's agriculture industry.
We are concerned.
After already losing thousands of workers last year from Governor Ron DeSantis' crackdown on undocumented workers.
It's foolish. We have people here who want to work, and we're making it harder for them.
In a 2020 survey, the National Agriculture Workers Organization found the U.S. had about 2.4 million farm workers. 44% were undocumented. Is there concern that we might lose some farm workers? Is that just the collateral damage that we're going to face?
It's not like they're going to be knocking on doors and getting everybody out of their homes. No, they're going to go after those criminals.
Lydia Maldonado with the Republican Party of Palm Beach County says her concern is crime.
They didn't come here for the American dream. They came here to do evil.
She's part of the roughly 45% of Latinos who exit polls show voted for Trump.
We really need to reform and figure out what we're going to do with this immigration.
Obama had the most deportations during his first term at nearly 3 million.
I want you guys to think about that very, very quickly about what the lady was saying. They're not getting rid of law-abiding illegal immigrants. They're getting rid of those criminals. Now, this is what people need to understand. No people, no ethnic group, no race in America wants to live around criminals. If you're an upstanding person, no matter your nationality, no matter your ethnicity, no matter your race, you don't want to be around, you don't want to be around violence. You don't want to be around debauchery. You don't want to be around people who are breaking egregious laws. Yeah, there's going to be people who speed. There's going to be a couple of people who defraud on their taxes. There's going to be certain things. But when you're talking about the straight out violence in your neighborhood, in your community, Hispanic American, Black American, White American, Asian American, Pacific Island American, Native American, no American wants that. So yes, 45 to 46% of Hispanic Americans voted for mass deportation and for Donald Trump to continue the border wall. Because don't forget, Hispanics has been in America for a very long, long time, especially states like Texas. Texas used to be Mexico. Some people will argue that Texas used to be part of Spain. But nonetheless, we have a lot of organic, native, Hispanic people who've been here for quite some time now. And then you have those who come over later. That's just like if, take for instance, if America was majority, no, I guess that you can say it was majority white, but there was a black country that was bordering America. And we just have like an influx of all of these black immigrants, similar to like Haitians coming over to America. If violence are increasing in our black neighborhoods, we will want mass deportation as well of those criminals. Yeah, we understand that there's all types of asylum seekers. There are economic asylum seekers, okay? Even though that a refugee or an asylum seeker is someone who is fearing political prosecution from their country, not just coming over to America for opportunities and job growth, etc. Today, after dropping my wife's car off at the dealership, they called an Uber for me, and the gentleman who drove me was from Cuba. And I was trying to have a conversation with him. I said, hey man, what's your name? He's like, oh, no Saudi, no English. And this is what people were talking about, how people are in the country and they do not know how to speak the language. And the family, when you go to these other countries, you can't just start working there if you don't know how to navigate yourself away around the country. You don't know the language. You're not learning the language. I don't know, but I know that a lot of countries don't accept what America has allowed for quite some time now. But nonetheless, I asked him, ¿Qué es nombre? What is your name? Before I knew he was from Cuba, I said, ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? He said, Cuba. He had some Cuban fighting gloves up on his little thing. I said, okay. And it's no slight against him, but again, if you're on vacation, that's one thing. Like I go to countries all day on vacation and don't know the language, but I'm not there trying to get a job because, again, I don't know the culture. I don't know the language. Some of the things I will probably want to learn or have a good standing on. That's just me, though. And I know a lot of people will argue and debate that these people are desperate. These people come over for this, that, and the other. But don't forget, they have a whole country. They are the majority versus the 1-2% elite. That they can create opportunities or rearrange or revolt or restructure the government. But again, most people are going to take the path of least resistance. Okay? So I think as Americans, not that we should be feeling sorry or we should lend out a helping hand, but we should definitely want people to follow the law, because we as Americans, if we break the law, we're going to jail.
Million people, followed by his second term with 1.9 million. Then was Trump with 1.5 million amidst COVID setbacks, then 1.1 million for Biden through February.
It seems like it's harsh, but when you think about it, we need to clean up our communities.
Joel Lopez, WPTV News.
Now, I want to just remind you guys of what Trump was saying. Okay, he was talking about, I just want you to hear this one little part here. This beginning part right here.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Nearly 11.
He said that he will initiate the largest mass deportation, basically agenda that America has ever seen. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. Now, when I go over to Trump's agenda, it says day one executive order ending citizenship for children of illegals and outlawing birth tourism. I was really trying to look for legislation, family, that literally had mass deportation where we can actually hear him say part of his Agenda 47. But for the sake of argument, because a lot of people don't go past the title, we're going to play this and see how he maps out doing this.
Joe Biden has launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens to storm across our borders. From all over the world they came. Under Biden's current policies, even though these millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully, all of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine? They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and countless other government benefits, many of which will also profit the illegal alien parents. This policy is a reward for breaking the laws of the United States and is obviously a magnet helping draw the flood of illegals across our borders. They come by the millions and millions and millions. They come from mental institutions. They come from jails, prisoners, some of the toughest, meanest people you'll ever see. The United States is among the only countries in the world that says that even if neither parent is a citizen nor even lawfully in the country, their future children are automatic citizens the moment the parents trespass onto our soil. As has been laid out by many scholars, this current policy is based on a historical myth and a willful misinterpretation of the law by the open borders advocates. There aren't that many of them around. It's amazing. Who wants this? Who wants to have prisoners coming into our country? Who wants to have people who are very sick coming into our country? People from mental institutions coming into our country? And come they will. They're coming by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country, and they enter our country illegally. My policy will choke off a major incentive for continued illegal immigration, deter more migrants from coming, and encourage many of the aliens Joe Biden has unlawfully let into our country to go back to their home countries. They must go back. Nobody could afford this. Nobody could do this. And even morally, it's so wrong. My order will also end their unfair practice known as birth tourism, where hundreds of thousands of people from all over the planet squat in hotels for their last few weeks of pregnancy to illegitimately and illegally obtain U.S. citizenship for the child, often to later exploit chain migration to jump the line and get green cards for themselves and their family members. It's a practice that's so horrible and so egregious, but we let it go forward. At least one parent will have to be a citizen or a legal resident in order to qualify. We will secure our borders and we will restore our sovereignty starting on day one. Our country will be great again. Our country will be a country again. We'll have borders, we'll have proper education, and we'll put America first. Thank you.
All right. That was President Trump's stance on illegal immigration as well as birth tourism. I don't know if you guys are aware, as he was stating, that a lot of people will come over in the last few weeks of presidency and stay inside the country. And those who are legally who have babies inside the country, I don't think the law has ever pointed that out, that we understand that the Constitution states that if you're born an American, then you're an American citizen. But what if you're here illegally? What if you trespass into the country? Does that forbade, does that contradict the law or the Constitution rather? I think that's a big question that should be had as well. Okay, but I don't know if you guys ever came over here and looked at Donald Trump's Agenda 47. He put everything in video format. I thought that was very different. He did things a lot differently there. Not that I agree with everything he did or anything like that, but I believe that when we're speaking about economic revitalization efforts, Trump, he has essentially promised to boost the economy through significant tax cuts, deregulation, and protective trade policies aimed at bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. because we understand that a lot of manufacturing is in Mexico as well as in China and other places as well. And these plans aren't just ambitious, what Donald Trump is talking about. They're very contentious. Tax cuts may stimulate economic growth temporarily, but they can also lead to increased national debt, which a lot of people were criticizing him, especially during his first term. Now, with the U.S. debt already in trillions, what we're looking at, family, $34-35 trillion in debt. A lot of people are asking, how will these cuts be financed? Because additionally, while deregulation may boost businesses, it can also lead to environmental and health concerns, which may provoke some really strong pushback from various advocacy groups and states. And I think that is the thing that we have to look at as well, because we understand how tough he will be, right? That's what we are expecting, him to be tough on immigration. And we're looking at a continuation of strict immigration policies that he once imposed when he was previously in office. And another thing that he may continue to do is push for a border wall and more stringent stronger immigration enforcements, which will reinstate the policies. And if that can't get accomplished, he may even enact some executive powers by, creating some executive orders. But this time around, I believe there will be more legal battles. And I think Democrats, independents, people who are pro illegal immigration, there's going to be a lot of illegal battles that no one's really talking about right now. That's what I think. I don't know. I hope it isn't. I hope that people are looking at for the betterment of America by border security. And this has nothing to do with the people, okay? And I think a lot of people get the waters really muddy because they think that people who are for legal immigration is anti-immigration. That's not true. People who are for legal immigration want border security so people come in the right way. You should want to know the people who are in your country. Now, granted, people are making the argument that Americans commit more crimes than illegal immigrants. Of course, this is our country. People are always trying to figure out how to do something. And if you don't think that people who are in the country, not all, even if it's 5 or 10% of them, they are increasing the amount of violence and crime in America. So if that's going to be the case, then everybody should be recorded. Everybody should be tracked. You are, date of birth, social security number, your tax ID code, all of these things to identify who you are, your driver's license, okay? Whatever licensing or certification you have that in a database somewhere. So there's multiple ways. You have a passport. You have a passport ID card. You have all this identification so people know who and what you are, and they know your track record. Why wouldn't we want that for people who are not citizens of the country? Because supposedly the one thing that he's going to bring back to America, which I thought never left for black folk, is law and order. He's talking about increasing the federal involvement in local policing, which could raise serious federal issues by using federal troops. I'm not stating that he will do, but there's some hinting of it in a lot of his speeches that he's been talking about. He's also hinting at suppressing what he deems as riots, which could lead to confrontation with civil rights and constitutional law from activists and further polarizing the nation and dividing the nation. You have the right to protest according to the Constitution. So not just border security, there's a lot of things, but I wanted to focus on security here when it comes to illegal immigration, because some people don't think that this is a big issue. A lot of these states that we see here, family, a lot of these states. Now, I want you guys to look at the amount of numbers. Now, we understand Texas and California have the majority of a lot of the illegal immigrants because they border Mexico. I should have popped up another map so you can see where these borders are. But I know Texas, by the way of El Paso, boards Juarez. Okay, boards Juarez. And I think California, you guys correct me, might have a map up. California boards Jalisco, Mexico, a very large part of Mexico as well. And of course, these other border states, okay, but a lot of them enter because look how South Texas is, okay? And then when it comes to Florida, they almost have 1 million. And a lot of those people are from where? Cuba, Haiti, all these other places. But a lot of people are coming by the way of Texas and California. And then they move north. And I was kind of looking at Colorado. There was a special on Colorado because, Colorado had an influx of illegal immigrants and they're dealing with a great amount of crime as well. Look at Illinois. Now, I want you guys to think about this. And a lot of people are going to say it's because of the city the city dynamics. Those have large cities. So, of course, illegal immigrants are going to flock there. No, we've known that the Democrats, okay, and again, I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican, but the Democrats were shipping and flying illegal immigrants to Illinois. Look how many illegal immigrants is in Illinois compared to other places that's near it. And look how big Montana is, Kansas is. And I got it. The economics of these states are very different. But look how small Illinois is in comparison, okay? And I would say this is a good depiction of how large the states are on a map, on a 2D map. But I want you to look at the vast differences. They got in West Virginia, they got less than 5,000 immigrants. Ain't nobody trying to go to damn West Virginia. But most of them are in sunny, beautiful, or industrialized places where a lot of opportunities are, like Texas and California, and Florida as well, where they have a lot of import-export because of the bodies of waters that they border. But then you look at other places. I was very surprised to see Tennessee with 140,000. I really was. The home of the KKK, I was very, but again, we have to understand that some Hispanics identify as white. Not all, but a lot of them actually do. But you don't see a lot of illegals in Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas. And now granted, you won't see a lot of black people there as well, because again, North Dakota, South Dakota, but look at where there are places where there's large conglomerates of black folk at. When you think about Wisconsin, I think about two places. I think about Racine, and I also think about Milwaukee. They have very large black populations, okay? So when we look at the demographics of how all these illegal immigrants are going in, with the exception of Washington, okay? With the exception of Washington and Oregon, Nevada was a surprise as well. Okay, I didn't know that. And of course, you're going to see different types of illegal immigrants. Okay, those who are Hispanic, those who are Haitian, those who are Asian by the way of India and China, majority. Okay, you have people from all over the world coming through the southern border. Look at New York, 600,000. You would think that it's at least 10 million. It's at least 10 million illegal immigrants in New York, but New York has really been hit bad. You got PA over here with 220,000, VA 275,000, North Carolina 325,000, Georgia 350,000. Yeah, there's a lot of illegal immigrants in a lot of these states. The only thing you need to do is catch an Uber. If you were to catch an Uber or a Lyft, especially here in Texas, majority of the time it's going to be an immigrant. I don't know if they're illegal now. I'm not asking them for their papers, okay? But most of them will be, I've probably, let's say if I've took Uber 10 times, at least 8 of them were immigrants that I knew they wasn't born in the US. And even talking with them, I talk to most of my Uber drivers. Because they're from all over the world, I ask them all types of questions and I try to make it as comfortable as possible, but I'm just getting some data. Okay, I'm just getting some data. But family, these are where a lot of the illegal immigrants are going. And then when you look at these states, where do you think these illegal immigrants are going in those states? Now, while we got that, I'm gonna read some of your notes here. I see Vagada. I'm gonna call you Vig. I'm just gonna call you Vig. Vig says, I saw your video about Israel and the Arabs who call themselves Palestinians, and almost everything you said on the subject is completely false. Oh, okay, so it's false. Jermaine Anderson, good day to you, sir. And the reason why, family, I don't tend to address like open, vague comments like that. I mean, what are you trying to prove here? Okay, prove that I was false. You just said that I was false. But I like to read comments like that. Here we go again. I strongly suggest you learn some history before you speak lies and nonsense. Well, thank you for the advice. I appreciate that. Chris Rodman says, no country can afford millions of illegal aliens invading their country. I will agree to that because eventually that country will fall. Anytime, if anyone have ever studied how Rome fell, this was one of the tenets, this was one of the components of a lot of people without opportunity was flocking to Rome for jobs, and Rome became eventually overpopulated. But there are some other mistakes that Rome made as well on the military as well, economic level that they made a lot of mistakes on, okay? We got my good brother, Jermaine Anderson here, one of my moderators. Thank you for moderating, sir. Elizabeth states that I don't want all illegal immigrants deported. Those who have lived 10 years or less and the so-called dreamers should get a pathway to citizenship. Oh, 10 years or more. Okay, so let's make sense of this. And I don't want to be too egregious with my example, but I'm gonna keep that up there. I don't want to be too egregious with my example, but here's my thought here. And I know a lot of you are not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but if a man or a woman was preying on young kids for 10 years or more, 10 years or less, would you want them to stay out of jail, or would you want they butt in jail? The point of a matter, and don't forget that America was built off of Christianity. And I don't care your religious affiliation, but supposedly America is a Christian America is a Christian country. And if anybody know anything about the Bible, one sin is not greater than the other sin. God supposedly looks at all sin the same, right? Whether it be you stole something from the corner store or you murdered someone, God looks at all sin the same. So if your country is built off Christianity and the hallmarks thereof, then if they are in the country illegally, did they not break a crime? So why would we award people for doing the wrong thing? If your son goes out or your daughter goes out and steals something from the corner store, are you going to reward them for doing the wrong thing? No. These people, unfortunately, are in the country, and I can't really say unfortunately, but they're in the country illegally, and they need to come through the right way. See, only people in America, only people in a first world country would say that. Because I guarantee this, if we had the lack of resources, if we had the lack of opportunities, if we had the lack of jobs, then people will be crying a different tune. And what people do not understand is when you have an influx of people who can replace you, let me tell you, just look at history. You will soon be the victim. And you're the citizen. You'll be the victim and the citizen. And we're looking at people who are legally in the country as victim because they come over with their significant others and their children. So we're looking at them like they didn't commit a crime. And I think a lot of times we have to start looking at this through a very transparent lens. Because I guarantee if me and my family went out to rob a bank in America, we'd be in jail. And they say, well, why did you try to rob this bank? Well, I don't have that much money. I'm trying to feed my family. They're like, but there's so many other ways you could have went about doing this. Well, this was the quickest, most convenient way, was just go take money, go to another country that's already done all the hard work, and I can just land on something because I know a couple of brothers and sisters here who'll give me an opportunity. And I told you guys this a long time ago. A lot of people who come here from these countries, and you guys are saying they have all these skills, and no, they don't. A lot of them learn on the job. Yeah, there is a portion of them who knows how to plumb, who knows how to, who are electricians, who are in construction. But I'm trying to tell you, family, over 75 to 80% of them are learning on the job. They have learned this on the job. You can quote me on that. Let's see here. I really, guys, want you to say that. And in a lot of these sanctuary cities, what I'm banking on is this. A lot of these sanctuary cities, I wonder if they're going to renounce their sanctuary citizenship. Are they going to say, hey, we're no longer a sanctuary city? Because don't forget, Mayor Adams of New York, he's already stated, and I don't mean by his words, by his actions. He's issued 47,000 plane and bus tickets of sending illegal immigrants that came to New York City to Illinois and Texas mainly. Vincent Jackson says, let's get it. Trump, do your thing. Okay. Very intelligent way of stating that. Vig says, Blacklogic, in my general opinion, letting foreigners who have no connection or historical right to your country to immigrate and settle in your country is ridiculous and disgusting. We definitely agree on that. And there's just so many other things, family. We're looking at the sanctuary cities. We're looking at Ukraine, Russia. We're looking at Israel, Palestine / Hamas. Trump has also promised to end the American involvement in these foreign conflicts. But the conflicts will require more than just some isolationist stance. Negotiating peace, especially in the complex geopolitics climates of Eastern Europe and the Middle East, involves a very delicate diplomatic way about how to go about these things, because that might contradict his straightforwardness. Often unilateral approach of, oh, I'm gonna get it done in day one. No, there's a lot of politics. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if you guys been hearing that Donald Trump lately allegedly has been talking with Vladimir Putin. He's been speaking with Vladimir Putin. And I think this is how he's trying to accomplish ending the conflict between Ukraine and Russia on day one, because he's already having those talks. And I can tell you something, him being the prior president, President 45, has helped Donald Trump to be more political in the way he's going about doing things, because he's already hinting, he's already naming, especially on his social media platform, Truth Social, how he's now going to appoint certain people. He didn't really do that last time. He had a lot of empty slots, a lot of empty cabinets. And half of that is because I don't think people like Elon Musk, they don't believe in big government. They really want to decrease the amount of people that are in government. I believe that you can keep the government of substantial size, but deregulation can counterbalance that, because you still need people in place to handle certain tasks, handle certain policies, to reinforce, to monitor, all these things. So I don't know the numbers on that per se, but you still need a good amount of people to do those things, especially all of these laws and legislations that have been passed. Yeah, we need people in place that's going to handle this. But when we start talking about wars and conflicts, we are an ally of Ukraine. And some people are even hinting that Donald Trump may abandon Ukraine with this whole U.S. alliance. Not that he's going to team up with Russia. I'm not stating that. But I believe if he pulls away from Ukraine and have a neutral stance on Russia, he may be destabilizing NATO alliances. We may ostracize ourselves. Again, I'm not stating this is what he's going to do, but in the matter in which he may handle this situation, okay, we're speaking about Ukraine and Russia, these are one of the possibilities. Because if we look at the other conflict, any moves concerning Israel and Hamas might consider the fragile balance with Arab nations and the implication for broader U.S. interests in the region if we handle that situation wrong. Because don't forget, we have dealings with Saudi Arabia. We have contracts and dealings with Kuwait, right? There's still skeleton forces of U.S. Army troops and U.S. military troops over there, for that matter, in Kuwait and Qatar, right? And we also have U.S. citizens who travel to the Middle East, most likely Dubai and Qatar. So we have to look at all those dynamics as he's negotiating and quote unquote making deals with these other foreign powers. And don't forget, family, we know who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump can be very crass. He can be very brutal with some of the things that he say, okay? And a lot of the people who are in these foreign countries, they're lifelong politicians. So one, they don't look at Donald Trump as very intelligent, okay? Because there is a political way that they go about saying and doing everything, and Donald Trump ain't that person. And that is the reason why he became president, right? While Kamala Harris was being political, Donald Trump was also being political, but he was also stating what he was going to do for America. And it sounded very attractive. So all those groups of people like, oh, if Donald Trump's become president, I'm moving. I haven't seen no one, and maybe because I haven't looked, but I haven't seen no one. Bixby talking. I haven't seen no one make a video of them actually moving to another country because Donald Trump won. Again, we just have a bunch of emotional people online talking a bunch of BS. So now that we know who the president is, hopefully that majority of the American people will go on there with their lives and stop making these clickbait videos of them, everybody crying and wilding out and crashing out about who's the president. Now it's the time to ensure that the president state he's going to do what he's going to do. Because as a Foundation Black American, we got to get up the next day and go to work, but we still going to report on this and keep this ever so fresh. Because when you look at Donald Trump's approach to international diplomacy, it's going to be under so much scrutiny, especially from the left. Because when you looked at his previous tenure, we saw a lot of strained relationship when we came to other countries and allies and unpredictable interaction with adversaries. If anything, people say he made friends with Kim Jong-il of North Korea and Vladimir Putin of Russia. But if he started banking on the things that he said he was going to do, restoring or restructuring a lot of these relationships that led into wars and conflicts, people are going to look at him very differently. But we also have to look at the international relationship we have with other countries. That's going to be crucial in making these deals work. And as we see global dynamics shift towards somewhat of a multipolarity with rising powers like China, and regional conflicts that's influencing global stability, we have to look at this on a whole international level, because don't forget about the BRICS. You guys remember the BRICS? Brazil, Russia, China, India, and South Africa. And then I probably did around 2 or 3 videos talking about the BRICS. There's a couple of more countries who joined the BRICS. We have to look at it from a global standpoint that as well. Maybe he's factoring that in as well. These other countries that join together economically is trying to turn the world standard back to gold versus what Nixon did when he was in office and transfer our currency into debt, IOUs. This method has worked for a very long time, where people will accept debt versus tangible money. If you guys ever go to Africa, right? And I've been to 3 countries in Africa. All of them, from what I can recall, operate the same. And I could be wrong, but excuse me, the ones I went to, you can't loan money. Like if you're trying to build a house, you have to save, buy the land. Then you have to save, buy the material. Save, buy people to put it together. And what you'll see in a lot of African countries, you'll see, especially in Ghana, especially some parts of South Africa as well as Kenya, where you're driving around the country and you see all of these incomplete buildings and nobody's working on it. There's no equipment on it. There may be some extra materials, but no one's working on it. That's because they're out of budget and they got to save their money. They just can't go to the bank like we can and take out a large loan and say, hey, build me a house. Hey, I want to buy that house. That doesn't work there. How rich would America be without debt? I want you guys to think about that. Think about your house. Think about your car. Think about anything that you bought on a credit card. Think about anything that you bought off of a large loan. Will America be as rich? Will America be as prosperous if it was without debt? I want you guys to look at the current economic standings of American citizens prior to Nixon changing American standard from gold to debt. Okay, I want you guys to really look at that, because you can see a very large contrast in difference of wealth, because it seemed like to the 70s to the 80s, stemming from the 60s to the 70s, it was almost like a flat line. But when he implemented that debt would be the new currency of America, people's wealth shot up. Because it's no longer dictated about the amount of money that you have in the bank. It's no longer dictated the amount of money that you have in assets, like a home or a yacht or some paintings or some family precious heirlooms that are worth a lot of money to other people. It was no longer in the assets. It was in the amount of money that you can accumulate through debt. Oh, you have good credit because you pay your bills on time. So we're going to allot you $1 million so you can go out and buy a $1 million home. Because there's a couple of things that we're looking at. We're looking at how much you get paid, your income, how much are your current bills, okay, your debt to income ratio. We're going to look at all of these things. But we know that now you're like a millionaire, or you can be paying us $1 million with interest for the next 30, 40 years. You see how that works? So it seems though Americans became more wealthy because we can afford more, but we really couldn't. The only difference is that we could make a payment because of our job each and every month, and it made other people who had more money than us richer than us. But a lot of other countries around the world don't work that way. So when you go to these countries and you go to these small towns, you see these shanty towns, you see these favelas, that their homes are halfway built. Some is sheetrock, some is sheet metal. The electrical is not up to code. And I don't mean even their country code, not American code, not any country code. That's because they have to save their money. They have the lack of it. They have all these disparities, right? But now you have these countries joining together called the BRICS, who's trying to change the world standard from debt back to gold. The question is, will that hurt America? And how we're going to go about dealing with that situation? Because if you love your nice house, if you love your nice car and you're still paying on it, let me tell you, things are going to get very expensive if we can't loan money. And I'm not for or against. I'm just stating it out there. These are the things that we really need to think about. All right, let's see who's in the room. Rocket Man says Trump is unpredictable. Yeah, of course he is. Vig is trying to give a history lesson. We're not getting into that today, Vig, but thank you for the info. Donald Trump is respected. He is respected to a certain degree. Dark Woods, the Russia that existed with NATO was founded, no longer existed. When you think about Russia, I'm not going to even go that far back, but when you think about the Soviet Union, okay, when you think about the Soviet Union, family, if you guys do your research, and I know Vig, he loves when I do my research because he says it's wrong, but when you do the research, Ukraine is the one who first created, who was the foundation of creating the Soviet Union. And then somehow Russia positioned themselves as the main body of the Soviet Union. So when the Soviet Union fell, Russia like, nah, Ukraine is part of Russia. And they've been dealing with that for quite some time now. But soon as Donald Trump got out of office, they invaded Ukraine. They didn't do it when Donald Trump was in office. Maybe some people will make the excuse that, it was because of the pandemic. I believe Vladimir Putin would have had them soldiers with masks on out there still trying to take over Ukraine. That's just what I think. That's my opinion. Kamala Harris, Imhoff is laughable and not taken seriously by the world leaders. Okay. Rocket Man, it was cool the first week. Now it's time to get serious. Indeed. Dark Woods, we have barely escaped nuclear war with Russia without support to Ukraine, which I do not approve of. The nuclear holocaust, family, again, I don't deal in the doomsday. I believe that Vladimir Putin loves Russia. I believe Vladimir Putin loves to ride horses. Some of the things you see him do. A lot of these world leaders, believe it or not, they love life. They're just not built on world domination and they're trying to destroy everything. No, a lot of people, like, if you know anything about Russians, they call Russian, so Russian water is vodka. I used to have a buddy who was Russian. He worked up at the dealership, and he used to say, hey, Black, hey, Ray, do you want some Russian water? I said, Russian water? Yes, it's very purified. However he spoke. I don't have a Russian accent. And he gave me something. I'm drinking it like it's like water. I'm like, man, this is alcohol. He's like, yeah, it's vodka. But that's what Russians call vodka, Russian water. Because they drink it all the time. They drink it straight. Don't be trying to mix no cranberry and vodka. And he gave me a bottle of like this authentic Russian vodka, and it was pretty smooth. It was pretty smooth. Doc Wood says we should not have gone into debt in the first place. We should not be holding to other countries. I mean, that's true, Doc Woods, but we have been in debt for a very, very, very long time. People stated that Bill Clinton balanced the budget. He got close to balancing it. He didn't truly balance the budget, but he got close. I will give him that credit. He did get close. Okay. It's just me watching now, and I see you looking at chat. You have a lot to say, but not a conversation. It's just me watching now, and I see you looking at chat. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's directed at me. Elizabeth State said, America's capitalism works for me. Credit works for two. Of course. Now, I don't want to get into finance because if you guys are, if you've been on Blacklogic for a very long time, when this channel was called Financial Literacy 101, we talked about that. We talked about that people use, when they take out payday loans, when they use their credit cards, they use them as an extension of wealth. What do people use when they run out of money? They use credit. They go out and get a loan, which puts you further in debt because now that the liquid cash that you have coming inside your bank account, it has to go straight towards paying off that debt with interest. So that's why a lot of Americans love credit. That's why a lot of Americans love that, oh, the only thing I need to do is pay these bills on time and I will have a high credit score, meaning that I can take out more debt. So again, Americans, unfortunately, or America itself, we are the largest consumers in the world because we gotta have it all. We just gotta have it all. Like if I was to price things in this room, I'm a victim as well. I mean, we do it to ourselves, but I'm a victim as well. I'm just, computer screens, computer desk, laptop, desktop, refrigerator, couch. I mean, we got a lot of stuff in America. And when you go over to these other countries, unless these people are wealthy, they don't have all these things in their house, let alone one room. They have the bare essentials, right? And that's because they have to buy things with cash versus buying things on credit. But yeah, family, I just wanted to bring that to your attention and leave you guys with some of these words because I want to see if he's actually going to do this. And I want him to do it. Again, I want America to succeed. I want America to be very prosperous. So it really doesn't matter who the president is. I just hope whoever was going to, whatever candidate who won, those things that were going to benefit America, I hope they implement them. I hope they enact them. I hope they sign them into law. Now, when it came to me, family, you know where I stood, but that's me.
President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to drastically reform U.S. immigration policy once he takes office in January.
These changes could impact the more than 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States right now. Trump has said his plan includes conducting the largest mass deportation program in U.S. history. Trump and his team have also vowed to end birthright citizenship, send troops to the southern border, and end several Biden administration programs that allowed hundreds of thousands of migrants to enter and work in the United States. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez joins us now. And Camilo, let's start with Trump's mass deportation plan. What do we know about it and how does he plan to enforce it?
Well, this is really the pillar of the second Trump administration's immigration agenda. Former President Donald Trump and now President-elect Trump has repeatedly promised to oversee the largest deportation operation in American history, modeled after that infamous Operation Wetback during the 1950s under the presidency of President Eisenhower. And he has said that he will start with migrants who have committed criminal convictions and who have committed crimes here, and also national security threats. But we spoke to former ICE official Tom Homan, who was very likely to join a second Trump administration, and he told us and told 60 Minutes for that project that this operation will move beyond criminals and national security threats, that it will also target migrants who are not criminals, but who are otherwise in the U.S. illegally. And that would be a seismic shift in policy, because under current Biden administration policy, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is largely only focused on arresting and deporting serious criminals and national security threats, not grandmas, families, and other populations who are in the country illegally, but have otherwise been law-abiding immigrants in the U.S. So that would be a major change.
So that's to kind of give you guys what's going on the political stage when it comes to his mass deportation and eradicating birth tourism. I'm going to address this one comment right here. It says, regarding what I said about Israel's war in Lebanon, you as an American have several reasons and interests for it to continue. Again, very vague. You're just saying like these statements, but before, I'm going to tell you something. Before I'm an American, I'm a black man. Can I say that again? Before I'm an American, I'm a black man. And when it comes to the economic liberation and freedom and empowerment of our people, one thing I need to focus on is our people and how we go about doing that. Not just by empty words, but by action as well, how we go about doing that. And if we pay attention to all these world conflicts, yeah, we can address them. We know that they're occurring. But if we try to get on board with Israelis or Jewish people, or some people call them Zionists, if we get on board on any of that, on either side, we lose. If we jump on the Palestinian / Hamas side, that, oh, the Zionist Jews went over and took over Palestinian land, we jump on that, we lose. If we jump on an Israeli that, oh, we believe that these are the chosen people, we still lose. It doesn't benefit Black American. That's why you don't hear people talking about it. So when people try to deflect to that conversation, the only point I have is, yeah, maybe as an American, but we have to deal with Black empowerment first before we get to the American part. And the things that we're talking about here on Blacklogic does affect Black America, because we are American and we're not immigrants. But we start worrying about what's going over in Ukraine and Russia from a political or social economic standpoint, rather than our government is giving billions of dollars to fund a war that we shouldn't have nothing to do with. That's how much is going to get out of me with that. The same way with Israel against Palestine. So there you go. But anyway, family, you guys have a great and wonderful Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all those who serve this great nation and who allowed the freedoms like myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. It was my pleasure to serve this country for 20 years. But nonetheless, family, you guys have a great and wonderful day. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Be one.